Good evening, and here are today's Tropics for September 13th, 2019. Well, first off, I'm not a meteorologist, and this video is just an opinion of mine, or a collection of my opinions, and is not official. Contact or consult your local officials or National Hurricane Center for any decision making about about Tropical Depression 9 right here. So, yeah, it was just upgraded the 5 p.m. advisory today. The reconnaissance aircraft found that there is a closed low-level circulation in this general region right here. As you can see, it's not quite in the convection. This is because of the upper low to the west. There is a large band type feature to the west or the east right here, and it's got deep convection on infrared imagery. So the cloud tops are 70 to 80, that's the gray part on the color bar here, 80 degrees below 0 Celsius, so that's very deep convection. So very strong thunderstorms in this region. See some of the features better in the water vapor right here. It's a bit slow right now, the computer isn't the best. There's an upper low out of frame here, and causing westerly flow into the Florida Straits and near Tropical Depression 9. As you can see, as it gets in here, there's some substance right here and some drier air. This drier air is kind of pushing into the circulation, and there you can see it's not as well defined because there's some outflow which is making it seem moister, but below this outflow there is some drier air where circulation is. So this is kind of hurting the system right now because it is both shearing it, which moves the convection out to the east, and also inhibits convective initiation, which would help fight against that shear. So it's kind of like a 1-2 punch for the system, but it is good for the Northwest Bahamas right here, which were hit quite badly by Dorian at the beginning of the month. So if somehow the convection or the tropical depression or storm stays more to the east, that would be very good because it would keep a lot of the impacts away from these islands, which desperately don't need another impact, even if it's a weaker system like a tropical storm. So you can see that there is that upper trough kind of area where the flow in the upper levels turns from more east or more westerly to kind of southwest or southeast vector. You can see this very elongated upper ridge that's oriented northwest to southeast here, and then a little anticyclone to the south of this band. There's a few cool features here, and you can see since the band is situated right in the middle of the ridge, the upper ridge, it's allowing the convection to really blossom as it's not being affected by the shear and subsidence, and it's also getting that upper level divergence, which allows air to rise and thunderstorms to form. So since the system's still weak, the center kind of follows the convection a bit, so it might get dragged a bit east if there's no new real convection here and it stays strong here, which would be good for these islands. It might mean that the tropical cyclone misses them. See also here there's a lot of deep convection from this upper low. This is because the steep lapse rates due to the very warm sea surface temperatures of the Gulf of Mexico and the much cooler upper level temperatures due to the upper low and to a point upper divergence, which is allowing for a lot of convective initiation, which could mean some development of a surface low at lower levels, possibly, not likely, but there there could be a short-lived tropical cyclone that moves this further west as the upper low is moving to the south and west. But we'll have to see. It's not going to do much, but if the convection does persist, we might see something out of this. Here we got the latest recon. Let's see if there's an update. Not yet. So it's been doing a pass, we'll cut off right here because my script stopped. But you can see it's a full mission. When it came out of Florida, it did find a well-defined center here, and then went around, around tropical storm force winds near the center to the northwest in that convective burst. So it is close to being a tropical storm. And you can see then it found another well-defined circulation and a lot of these northwest winds that we were missing yesterday. So this is pretty objectively a tropical cyclone now. But it's on the doorstep of becoming a tropical storm, but isn't quite. If you look at the newest center hit, the last vortex message had higher pressures than this. This has the pressure down to 1006.9 millibars before it starts to come up again away from the center. As you can see on the vortex message, it was a couple millibars higher. So that means the cyclone is slowly deepening, somewhat surprisingly in the face of there being little convection, but it is slightly deepening, so it is strengthening at this point right now, somewhat surprisingly. And yeah, let's go back to the vortex message. This was almost 2 hours ago now, but it did support the 30-knot winds that the National Hurricane Center has had in the 8 p.m. advisory, and there is 1,008 millibar lowest pressure. You can also see the colors here. This is infrared imagery in grayscale. The center is embedded within those darker colors, which means the convection is shallower in this region. So yeah, there isn't really that deep convection over the center. It's displaced to the north and east, partly because of shear and partly because of some substance and dry air imparted by the upper level low. Here we got a drop zone that was dropped about an hour and a half ago. If you look here, there's a bit of a bug. The winds aren't really 500 knots at 700 millibars, but you can see the winds aren't super impressive. But this is about 2 degrees west of the actual low. So this is where the dry air should be, but since this is the low levels, the dry air isn't quite as as pronounced because it's a lower level. So you get about 85% relative humidity, which isn't too bad actually for convection to form, but it's definitely not saturated as there. So we can tell there is no real convection, at least in the area right now. Yeah, if you look at the GFS forecast, the GFS really hasn't done well with Tropical Depression 9. Oops. Yeah, it hasn't done well at all. It pretty much caved to the other guidance, finally developing the system and having a huge eastward trend because it is deeper. Now it stays generally east of Florida, but does impact the Grand Bahama and Abaco Islands. Press play here. First off, you can see this agrees pretty well with the water vapor analysis. There is that westerly flow. There's that upper convergence here, which is fueling some subsidence and drier air, and then there's that trough axis right here, and the southeasterlies is part of the anticyclone, the ridge, and you can also see that kind of weak but noticeable anticyclone right here. So again, there is agreement that from the water vapor imagery, so it is at least getting that right. Anyway, we'll press play here, and you'll note that, yeah, it moves over these islands, and then there's a bit of a circulation aloft here, so there it does develop the system, and then here's a jet stream, so we can tell it starts to get pulled out to sea here. If you look on the latest National Hurricane Center cone, it takes it very close to these islands, unfortunately, which are under a tropical storm warning. It's still been uncertain since the center did just form recently, so if it does end up reforming because it's weak, it could change the track a lot, so the track is a bit more on the uncertain side. But what's less uncertain is the trough coming from the central U.S. westward into the Atlantic, and then once it gets there, it starts to pick up Tropical Depression 9, and then starts taking it out to sea, but not quite, as you can see it's heading towards Bermuda right here. It's a bit early to know whether it's actually going to hit Bermuda or not, since this is 5 days out. But if you have any interest there, you just might want to keep one eye on the storm to see if it does trend towards there, because impacts are possible, but it's early, so we don't really quite know if it is going to pose a major threat. Now, looking at Invest 96L, this is out in the main development region. It's now moved further north and west of the floater region. Looks like about 14.5 west and 43.5-ish west. That's where there seems to be some kind of mid-level low, and right here, right about here. So this mid-level low, as you can see, the convection is really just almost pitiful. There isn't really much going on. It seems to be suffering from a lot of that stable air that has hit the main development region a lot this year. So without that deep convection, this mid-level low is going to have trouble getting to the surface and lowering those pressures, which would allow a tropical cyclone to form. As you can see, there's another low here, or not really a low, but a wave, coming in fast just like this one. The convection is better, and there's a bit of outflow. You can see the coming out of the south and east. This one has a 20% chance of forming in the next 5 days, but is expected to merge with the waves around it. So it's getting a bit crowded as there's almost two systems in the same floater. If you look at the guidance, or GFS guidance here, you can see there, other than upper trough right here, it's pretty well defined. The flow goes from easterly to, or a bit southeasterly to northerly or northwesterly. This isn't affecting Invest 96. Invest 96L. It's more up in this region. There's a bit of upper divergence as the flow is slow here, but speeds up, which again leaves less mass in this region. So air has to rise to fill that mass, which creates convection. Basically, allows a low to form here. So you can see there's a lot of easterly wind aloft, which is good for this kind of system, because that it's in conjunction with the low-level easterlies as well. So the shear is low, and convection, when it does form, is allowed to form and not get sheared off. And this also, in developed tropical cyclones, does help keep dry air from really impinging on the circulation. If we press play on here, you can see it really keeps itself in that easterly flow. There's a bit of upper ridging aloft, but it's near the equator. You can see there's that upper divergence, and then there's a bit of a circulation aloft here. It's because the GFS does like this system, and it does end up developing it. so you can see that circulation start to get going. Now, the track is a bit uncertain because obviously we need that low to form, but it does look like it might head towards the lesser or even greater Antilles. So we might see impacts there from this system. Again, it's a bit early. There's quite a few days before we actually should be looking at impacts from this system. So just watch it if you have interest there. We don't know if it's going to develop yet. It might not. It might develop. We'll have to see. Uh, then Tropical Depression 9 is also important here because it has potential with its outflow to shear Invest 96L in the main development region because of the outflow allowing tropical upper tropospheric trough to form, which usually causes some southwesterly flow aloft to form, which shears cyclones pretty badly in this part of the basin. And also, it could create a weakness in the ridge, which would allow the system to track more north. But again, it's early days for this, so we'll have to watch the trends and see what things look like when the forecasts we're looking at are more set in stone. Anyway, that's about it for tonight. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and thank you for watching.